Hello, fellow What Do We Knowers. I know what you've been thinking is I've been listening to this great podcast, and I wonder, how can I help these guys out? Well, I'll tell you exactly how you can help us out. If you go to WDWKpodcast.com, there's an Amazon search bar to the right side of the page. Anything you're going to buy from Amazon anyway, if you search for it through our page, we get a little bit of that profit, and it doesn't cost you a thing. It's so easy, so quick, so simple to do. Purchases you're already going to make, just make them through our page. Search on the Amazon search bar on the right side of WDWKpodcast.com, and you can help out this podcast so we continue to bring you wonderful entertainment that you've grown to love. Thanks, and keep listening.
Whenever I answer the phone, I'm like, hello.
What pissed you off?
It's a great argument to have.
I love my mom, but I think she's half crazy for doing that.
How dare you?
Do you work with your girlfriend, Mark? Or your wife, Mark?
I keep them separated. Sometimes I call people, they don't answer the phone, I'm like,
Wrong number, click.
Well, he's not that smart. Sometimes he sounds like he knows what he's doing.
yeah,
Go.
But therefore, you're an ass, and I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Yeah, but what do we know? Was there anything cool at your golf game today?
No, I shot a horrible game. That was awful. It was really bad. But
was it 100?
Do you have your...
It was over 100, yeah.
I don't know. That's I don't know golf. I just threw out a number.
What's your
I mean,
handicap?
that's horrible. It was over 100. You're so bad at the game.
It was bad. It was bad.
Well,
when I was golfing a lot, I could crack 100 on a pretty regular basis. And I got 115 today, which is awful.
So, what do you think of golf? I heard they're trying to make the standard of golf 9 holes versus 18.
You know, I don't ever watch golf on TV. I just like getting out and doing it, you know.
Would you ever go out to do just 9, not 18?
Yeah, I do that sometimes, depending on how much time I got to kill. So yeah.
I guess my question with that story when I heard about it was, you don't have to do 18.
No.
You only can go do 9 if you want to do 9.
I've played 9 a lot of times.
Why would it make a difference to switch it to the standard of 9 instead of a standard of 18? Like, everybody knows a golf course is 18 holes. What would it matter if people were like, the golf course is 9 holes?
They have 9-hole courses now.
Right.
They exist. There's not many of them, but they do exist.
I think if you switch to standard, though, it allows more places to be built that could cater to a full 9 country club versus an 18. That's a lot bigger. I don't know if that makes a difference in the game.
I don't know. I don't play golf much. The most golf I've ever played is at Sharky's at the driving range because it was hooked to the bar and I could walk my beer out to the driving range and drive a bucket of balls. That's...
Yeah. I don't play nearly as much golf as I used to now that I have, the 2 young kids. But I've been off, last week and this week, so I'm trying to get a couple rounds in. I played 18 today.
Do you find watching golf appealing?
No.
I remember my grandfather, whenever he would come over for dinner, we had to let him watch whatever he wanted, and he would switch over to the Golf Channel every single freaking time. And it's like the most... I mean, golf to me is one of the most boring things, one of the most boring sports you can play. But to watch it, it makes it 10 times worse.
Now, the question is it as boring as soccer when it's not the World Cup?
To watch or to play? Because
I mean, either one. I think playing anything is fun. I can play soccer, I can play baseball, I can play golf and have a good time playing it. But watching it is a whole different story.
Okay, well, let me say that I think golf is more boring, but can be more entertaining in the aspect of most soccer games, even when you're playing for fun, you can't drink alcohol. Although that wouldn't make an interesting game of soccer.
It might make an even more interesting game of soccer than you're thinking. I don't know. That's...
But isn't it pretty standard?
I don't think so, because they already fall down way too much in soccer.
That's true. That's true. I think there should be something against that, by the way. Like, I know that there is technically rules against diving, but I mean, they do it as. I mean, it's ridiculous in soccer how much they try to dive. Like, it's off the wall.
Yeah.
I think the number one thing they can do to improve soccer is have a shootout at the end of the game and not have ties. And I think the exact same thing with hockey. I don't think hockey should ever end in a tie. It should just end with a shootout.
How about
hockey doesn't?
Hockey does. Hockey ends in ties during the regular season. It's just like soccer. At one point in the playoffs, it doesn't end in ties.
I'm saying both sports could be way improved.
Okay, hold on to that. What about football? This year shocked me with football as well. I mean, excuse me, American soccer. Wait, no, American football. Like, talking to somebody in Japan, you got to keep that in mind. But I mean,
actually, in soccer, they say soccer in Japan quite often.
Green Bay and
Philadelphia, wasn't it?
Was it Philly? Green Bay and somebody. I don't remember who, but it was a tie, and I forgot that you can tie in football now. And I mean, what do you think of that? That really screwed up with the standings at the end of the season. It didn't end up coming into play as much as it could have, but it was really down to those last 2 or 3 games where the tie could have been the.
Well, this is the reason why I don't like it. It's the exact same thing happened with the United States. The United States got lucky to get out of the brackets because of some conditions, but isn't it much easier to keep track of and who's going into the next round if they didn't have these ties? Where it's like, if this team gets this many points, or this condition happens, or if this happens, they move on.
Well,
instead of at the end of the game,
Yeah, would it be easier? Sure, but I mean, the whole soccer thing was based on 3 games. A series of 4 teams in 3 different games because they're in the same group. Kind of easy to figure out. Like, it got complicated at the end because of some circumstances, but okay. Football, 16-game season, okay. You can figure that one out as well. When you're dealing with, like, hockey, when you're dealing with, like, baseball doesn't go into ties. But when you're dealing with, like, hockey or something like that 63 wins, 4 ties, like, however many losses, that gets a little confusing. I don't agree with ties in professional sports either.
Yeah.
Mike, how about you? You're a sports guy.
Well, I think most sports could be improved by not having ties. I do agree with that.
Could you imagine NASCAR? Oh, and it's a tie.
Well, I mean, honestly, in theory, it would be possible in NASCAR for 2 cars to cross the finish line at the same time. I guess in theory, no matter how unlikely, do they have anything in place for if that happens? I don't even have any idea.
I don't think.
Yeah, they have like the super high-speed cameras set up at the finish line.
But I mean, but let's say 2 cars literally crossed identical times based on the super high-speed cameras. What do they do in NASCAR in that case? Any idea?
See which molecules.
I don't know. I know they can like figure it out down to like hundredths of seconds. So I'm not sure you're ever going to have like a quote unquote tie.
I can't wait to see that day. It will happen, and I'm going to be like, Mike said it would never happen as the earth opens up and like fire rains and all that fun stuff.
No, I'd be in trouble, man.
I remember when I visited my Korean family in Korea, we were trying to think of giving them a couple of gifts, right? Like, because they were hosting us at their apartment. So we got them a bottle of Kaluah. And we're like, oh, okay, we'll give them some Kaluah. It was sold in Korea, so we pretty much thought they knew what to do with it, right? But we gave them the bottle, and they're like, oh, Kaluah, we really like it. And they just started taking shots of Kaluah, just back and forth until the whole bottle was gone.
I've had shots of Kaluah before.
Sure. I've had it on ice and done shots.
It's definitely better as a mixer with something because it's such a good flavor. The problem is it's really weak alcohol content, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It is weak. But, like, I've never seen anybody just do shots until the bottle was gone. It was... I mean, they really liked it, but...
I mean, it's good. It's easy. it is easy to drink, as Mike said, but like Kaluah and cream or Kaluah and milk, like that's a really good drink, but it's pretty much because it tastes like chocolate milk, is essentially like.
Yeah.
And who doesn't like chocolate milk? Like I wish milk, like they tell you how good for you that milk is. Right. And as adults, everybody always has milk in their fridge. They're supposed to. Like we always get some, and from the supermarket or the CSA or whatever, something gives us like fresh milk and things like that. Why don't they have chocolate milk in adult fridges? It's still milk, right? Just with some chocolatiness.
Right, but
I drink it more.
Well, I think the idea is that as adults, we drink it. We use the milk with things like milk and cereal. But I mean, use it as with an ingredient. We don't just drink milk. Like for my schools, when I work with elementary students, I have to eat lunch with them, and I always have to drink a carton of milk, like you did in elementary school as well. It's not bad, but
I mean, it's milk. It's not bad, but why as adults do we not drink milk? It's like you try to drill it into kids like a glass of milk. Milk is good for you. It helps your bones. And granted, we don't have the same effect from it anymore as adults because once you're like 26 or 30 or something like that, you can't really help your bones with milk anymore, if I recall.
And you're not supposed to drink too much calcium, actually.
Is that why? It's like we stop drinking it because it's good for you to a point and then it's bad?
Isn't like kidney stones like calcium?
Yeah, they can be calcium deposits and things like that, but...
Plus, you get way more calcium from eating green vegetables.
So we should stop eating green vegetables. Yeah, what you're saying. Why do I eat more of those as an adult and less milk?
I actually do drink milk from time to time, but I with the two younger kids, we always have 2 gallons of milk in the fridge at any given time. Like Rachel still is young enough where she drinks whole milk, and Jake will drink 1% or something. So we have such an abundance of milk that is always readily available.
It's just easy to grab. Now, speaking of like those foods, as a little kid, do your kids hate like green beans and things like that? Do they hate the things that you like? Traditionally, kids hate broccoli, kids hate peas, kids hate Brussels sprouts.
Some adults, some adults, they won't eat anything green.
True,
that's right. My kids are all very different eaters. Hannah and Jake both ate pretty much anything. Not Hannah quite as much, but Jake, literally from the time he was pretty young, was just motivated by food. You could tell Jake if Jake wanted a toy or something. Well, eat your vegetables and you can have it. It didn't matter. He was going to eat them anyway, probably, but that would just speed up the process. Now, Rachel is a challenge because she won't eat anything. She is really hard to find stuff she'll eat. Like you even mentioned broccoli. Jacob will tear up some broccoli. That's probably his favorite vegetable, actually. But now Rachel, we just recently found out she likes corn on the cob, which, of course, of all the vegetables, corn is one of the least beneficial for you, and that's the one she likes. But if you're not talking like bread or some kind of meat, Rachel doesn't want to be anywhere near it. So it's interesting trying to trick her into eating vegetables.
I mean, as a kid, I, of course, didn't like a lot of the traditional things that people don't like as a kid, whether it was because I was too afraid to taste them or whatnot. But I'll say as an adult, when you're supposed to have this, like, expanded palate and all, great, I love broccoli. I actually grew to like asparagus a lot, which I didn't like at all. I thought it tasted disgusting when I was younger.
Asparagus, yeah.
But things like, my girlfriend loves Brussels sprouts. She thinks they're one of the best things ever, and I still think that's just disgusting for one. And what is the deal with everybody in arugula salad? Arugula is like the most bitter, leafy green that exists. I think it's good in a little teeny bit mixed with some other lettuce, but people constantly, it's like, oh no, this is like we're fancy cooks. It's a lovely arugula salad.
Wait. Well, I'm growing arugula in my potted plant outside right now.
Do you like it better than normal lettuce?
I tell you what, when I first had it, I cut it into a little bit, and it has a slight nutty flavor to it.
Nutty? I just think it's bitter.
See, and I think it's just depends on your own palate. But I know for kids, they're more sensitive to bitter taste, and you tend to grow out of it, not always. So like they have overactive bitter glands or buds or whatever you call it. So that might be your problem still with like Brussels sprouts. Like it's just so bitter that you can't enjoy the others.
The only thing I like about Brussels sprouts is the bacon that gets cooked with them sometimes. Like that's
and as someone who eats just about anything, like I really do have an expanded palate, if that's what you call it. There's only a handful of foods on this earth that I've ever tried that I don't like to some degree. Brussels sprouts is one of them that I do not like. I do not care for Brussels sprouts at all. Beets is another one.
I don't say she loves beets as well, and I hate beets too.
Yeah.
Like
I don't hate beets and I don't hate Brussels sprouts. They're not the best, but I probably have a wider variety of foods that I have eaten over you guys. Natto is one of the worst foods in the world.
Oh, I love natto. I have no idea what natto even is.
I love nachos.
Nachos are delicious.
No, basically it's fermented soybeans, and it ferments in a way that creates sort of like a slime texture. So, and when the flavor itself's not so bad, but it's like eating like these little nutty things with snot. That's the best way I could describe it. And the first time I had natto, I tasted a little bit. I didn't like the texture, and I thought, what I'll do is I'll just stuff the natto in my mouth because I was at an elementary school. I had to eat all my food. I'll stuff all the natto in my mouth, and I'll just chug it with some milk. Except for I learned
like cement mixer.
It basically makes the snot of the natto 10 times worse, and it was just unbearable. It was just horrific. So natto is one of the things that I really hate, and liver. I don't know why people like liver.
I don't do
disgusting.
Olives. I still hate olives, black and green. I eat them every time that they're around because so many people love olives that I think I'm doing something wrong, and I'm always like, I'll eat a sliver and be like, nope, still hate those things because I want to like them because everybody loves olives. Most people actually like one or the other. Most people are either like, I love green olives and I hate black, or I love black olives and I hate green, and I'm like, I hate them both.
Yeah. Black olives is kind of a favorite in our household. Like all the kids will eat black olives. I'll eat both, but yeah, all three of the kids will eat black olives just by themselves in handfuls.
Well, do you know black olives and green olives are the exact same olives, just when they're picked is different times.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's why I'm a smart one who knows to hate them both. Whereas people who claim they like one or the other, they're just making stuff up.
Do you like olive oil?
I use olive. I don't think it tastes like olives though, but I like the standard olive oil for cooking stuff with. I think is fine. There has been a big push for like all these fancy infused olive oils around here, and some of them I've sampled because there's one random market that you can actually sample all these different infused olive oils, and a couple of those have a very olivey flavor that I was like, nope, that's not going to be the one that I'm going to like enjoy.
What do they infuse olive oil with?
You basically put a bunch of herbs and things like that, and they sell these olive oil infusers. You pretty much like put all the stuff in it. It almost looks like a French press. You put all this stuff in them, and eventually you like push it down, and like it's got the like infused stuff in it. But one thing that I wish I loved, and I can't believe that I don't, because it's one of the very few foods that the like sweet version of something that tastes all sugary and all this stuff is the one that's good for you. And I cannot stand sweet potatoes.
Oh, sweet potatoes.
Regular potatoes all the way. Sweet potatoes, I do not like them. I don't know what it is about them. And it's funny because it's literally this very sweet potato. It tastes like you're eating spoonfuls of sugar, like mixed with all this weird potato thing, and I can't stand it.
Now, are you talking about sweet potatoes as in like
yams.
The white center, or yams, with the orange color?
Yams. I'm talking about yams. Is that different? Wait, what?
Yeah, there are. Like, Japan, most of the sweet potatoes are sweet potatoes. Yams are, I think, from South America. They tend to be a lot more sweeter. They tend to be sweeter. Yams tend to be sweeter, I think.
Yeah, I didn't know that there was a difference, let alone I've never seen a white sweet potato before. Because they always call them sweet potato fries. They're not yam fries. They're sweet potato fries. They're sweet potato pie. It's
maybe Americans just haven't adopted the white version.
That's true. Maybe the white version is just parsnips or something. They pass off as something else.
I make sweet potato fries at home sometimes, and they're really good. So, and they're more like potatoes here, I think. So maybe that's the big difference.
I would like those ones then, because I love potatoes, but I don't like sweet potatoes. Like potato fries, sweet potato fries. Ew.
I'm always someone who I care a lot less about sweet than I do about
savory.
Yeah, exactly. So like I'm on board with liking potatoes way more than sweet potatoes, but I still like sweet potatoes.
Yeah, but regular potatoes are so bad for you. That's the problem. Is I love potatoes and they're so bad, like starch content and oh my god. But I could eat potatoes like as my only meal. I could be like Irish, and just be like potatoes. And if there was a potato famine, I'd be like no.
Wait, but so. You said this about olives, and you're saying this about yams. You want to train your body to like flavor. Now, before I went to Japan or Asia in general, we were out at a all-you-can-eat Chinese restaurant, and I kept coming back with wasabi, and I really didn't like wasabi, and you're like, you kept asking, why am I eating food with wasabi? If you don't like it, don't eat it. And I told you, like, if I have it enough, I'll probably end up liking it. And now
wasabi's an interesting flavor to try to force yourself to like, though. You're like, I hate the burn, but I would like to love the burn. It hurts
but I do
so
like
bad.
it now. And I put tons of wasabi on my sushi, which is probably really insulting to most chefs here, but I eat everything with wasabi. At a sushi restaurant, and my wife does the exact opposite. She gets it without wasabi.
I love wasabi. We have something that they sell at the cafeteria in the hospital called Wasabi Explosion, and it's just basically like dried wasabi peas mixed with like little pretzels and things like that. And it's it's the wasabi peas that when you bite into them, it like burns up your nose. You can just feel it, and I love it. It's so good. But I mean, acquired tastes. I guess I'm trying to make my body acquire the taste, but it's like beer. For me, when I never drank beer when I started drinking. It was always liquor because I didn't like the taste of beer. And somehow throughout the time, I've acquired this taste for beer. And not only do I enjoy it, but I find it delicious. I mean, it's.
Are you either one of you guys like getting into the whole craft beer thing at all?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of craft beer places around here, and I want to get back into brewing beer. Like I had brewed a couple batches when I was back at home, but. I want to get back into doing that again because I do like a lot of craft beers. Red Hook is, I don't know if you've ever had Red Hook. I think it's a Seattle company, but I got really hooked on their stuff for a while because there's something called the ESB. It's like the extra special blend, and it was so good. Like, loved that beer.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds good.
Yeah, I'm getting big into the craft beer kind of phenomenon too. There's actually a lot of pretty good breweries like here in Michigan.
Yeah, there's a lot of good breweries in Michigan.
So I've kind of been jumping on that. Like my dad keeps telling me, I've drank Bud Light all my life. Why would I switch now? Well, that's kind of ridiculous because, back when he started drinking, there's like 4 brands of beer that he had to choose from. Now, you can fit exactly what your palate, desires in a beer, and you can find it pretty close to home. It's going to cost you a little extra, but, isn't that like anything else? If you find something really good, you're willing to pay a little more for it.
And American beer, because of this new phase that we're going through with all these craft beers, it's really becoming more famous outside of the States.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really actually have that many options for American beer here.
So I went on a craft brewery tour for my birthday last year, and there's we drive out a couple hours from here. There's Star Hill Brewery. There's Blue something or other brewery. There's a Sam Adams Brewery. There's a lot of different places that you can go to. And I actually found out that the classification of being a microbrewery is based on how many
how much you brew, right?
How much you sell. I believe it's how many cases you sell or whatever. And they've recently, and by recently I mean relative in the last 5 to 10 years, something like that, increased it just so they could keep Sam Adams as considered a microbrewery, because Sam Adams got so big, so they increased the cap on how much you could sell to still be a microbrew, so that Sam Adams is a microbrew and it is not a like one of the big boys, like I don't know if they call it a distributor.
Right.
I don't remember what the next level is or whatever, but I find that kind of interesting. You'd be like fighting to stay a microbrew as opposed to most people being like, we made it to the next level. They're like, no. Raise the bar. We don't want to be there. Yeah, it's like.
But maybe that's why they want, because like the people want microbrewed beers.
Once they become a staple, people won't want them anymore because craft breweries.
I'm not gonna say Americans are hipsters, but they're sort of hipsters.
That's why PBR is making a comeback.
Yeah.
PBR's hipster beer out here. It's expensive. It's really expensive to get.
But that was like when we were in college as well, though. That was sort of hipster beer as well.
No, it was like, the beer that they sold for $1 a pitcher at Churchill's.
Yeah, I know. But I think that was like, I still think, because one of our friends.
Castile rum, is that also hipster rum because it's so damn cheap?
You know what's funny, actually? You brought up the beer when we were younger. I wish I could remember what it was. I think it was something, I stumbled on it on like YouTube or something, and it was, I think, and this is a horrible story already, but I'm pretty sure it was like a wine connoisseur, like sampling different kinds of beer.
Right.
And they actually gave Steel Reserve like the highest grade of anything they tried.
Beat out Camo and
I don't think they tried Camo.
And Boone's Farm.
Steel Reserve, man, that stuff, it's just, I know you were saying you drank one the other day. I actually saw it at the store out here, and I almost bought it, but I just remember it was 99 cents for the Deuce, so, and it was such a high alcohol. Yeah, for the Ford, is that what it was? And it was
which didn't make sense, because you got 4 more ounces for spending the same amount on 22s.
Yep. And for the alcohol and beer, and having not as much drinking experience under my belt at the time that I bought it, on a regular basis, it was like 2 of them. And I was plastered for the night. So I was literally getting drunk on $2. And it might have not tasted. I remember you had to power through that first one because it tasted so bad.
And in the last 5% of
you couldn't drink the acid beer. You couldn't drink it because it was so bad. Like,
yeah, if it got warm, you're in trouble.
Yep. I definitely try to stay away from beer like that because I like to enjoy my beer now, whereas that was a time that I drank to get drunk for sure.
You beer bombed.
It's really not that bad.
I did.
It's really not that bad. I just recently, Mark, whatever night that was that I worked a double, like a couple weeks ago or 3 weeks ago or something, and I stumbled upon you when I got home at like midnight or 1 or something like that. No, on Skype.
Oh, okay.
Whatever night that was, I was drinking a Steel Reserve that night. So that was like 3 weeks ago or something. I stumbled, because on my way home, like around here, a lot of this, like cities, it's smaller cities, especially compared to Flint, obviously. But everything, like liquor stores and things, all shut down at like 11. So if you stumble upon something that's open past 11, it's kind of like
not the greatest selection.
Well, it might have a selection, but it's definitely more like a Flint liquor store than like a Brighton party store. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? So I stumbled into this place, and I'm looking through the beer aisle because I know I've just worked a 16 or 18-hour day, whatever it was, and I'm going to want to drink a beer to kind of relax and so I can try to get some sleep. And I saw Steel Reserve sitting in the cabinet, so I had to buy one. And it really wasn't all that bad. I was surprised at how not horrible it was.
I wonder if they changed their brewing process since then, too, because, back then it was, because I think it's a Pennsylvania beer, or Pennsylvania malt liquor, because it's a malt liquor, right?
I don't know what's the difference between malt liquor and most beers.
I don't know either. Alcohol
most
content,
beers
maybe?
made with malts?
Yeah, I don't know,
Hops?
maybe. I don't know. I mean, hops are different than malts, but
I don't know.
I think it's a Pennsylvania beer, and I remember it was pretty much, we saw it in Flint, but I never saw it anywhere else that I ever traveled, and now I see it everywhere now. Like, it's pretty all over the place. But maybe that's because also the beer distribution network has become so much greater, because remember, Yuengling was huge.
Mm-hmm.
But not in Michigan. They didn't sell Yuengling in Michigan until recently, but in the whole like eastern seaboard, Yuengling was one of the biggest beers. That was like one of the newer beers. That was this huge beer that was everywhere. And now I'm sure you can get Yuengling.
Yuengling's been around forever.
Oh yeah, you know what? You're right. They have been around.
It's one of like
for a
the
very
oldest
long time.
beers in America, if I'm not mistaken.
And for some reason, it just never made its way to Michigan until like the last 5 or 10 years, and now it's like, but now it's everywhere.
By the way, I don't like it. Have you guys ever had?
Yeah, I've had Yuengling quite a bit. I think Yuengling's okay. I don't mind it, especially on tap, like draft Yuengling. I think is really good. Fat Tire is one that I'm not the biggest fan of. That a lot of people. Yeah, I don't know why. It's got a weird bitterness to me when I drink it. I will still drink it and enjoy it. It's not like I think it's disgusting, but I think a lot of people hype that one up as like this really good beer that I'm always like, it's, you know.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's pretty good.
I don't think Mark's ever had some of these beers since he's been out there. Huh?
No, I know, Mark.
I've been out of the States too long. I've been to Laos, and I had beer Lao. That's something.
Oh, wait, no, I'm not thinking Lao. I'm thinking Lef. I'm thinking Lef. I don't know what beer Lao is.
Yeah, it's the official beer of the communist country of Laos.
Interesting.
Isn't that where Jerry rules?
Yeah, it is. But when I was there, it was really interesting because it's a beer company, but because Laos doesn't really
is a beer company?
Yeah, well, because Laos doesn't really export that many things and doesn't have that much income coming into the country. A lot of the roads are sponsored by Beer Lao. Like,
that's weird.
You'll be going down a road and it's like,
awesome.
This road built by Beer Lao and Beer Lao this. And
it's like, all windy and like it doesn't go.
This beer company is basically keeping the country running. It's really strange.
It has bumpers like on a bowling alley.
It's like bumper bowling, but for cars. Yeah, when I went to Iceland, I couldn't even tell you what kind of beer they were, but they had a bunch of different random beers that we bought, and they were pretty decent, but they're super expensive over there because it's just, I think they import like everything. I don't think there was a brewery in Iceland.
Why were you in Iceland?
Oh, it's Iceland for vacation.
Oh, cool.
2 years ago. It's really cheap to go to Iceland. It's I think we spent a total of, it was like $800 a person, including flight and hotel for 4 days in Iceland.
That's not bad at all.
No, it was great, and it was it's like 6-hour flight from DC, so it was on a plane, Iceland Air, 6 hours, and
again, not bad.
No, we rented a car for like $200 for the whole time we were there, and drove out and saw like the Northern Lights, and
right. Ooh, that seems cool.
It was pretty cool.
Iceland's the country that's actually more green than Greenland,
and Greenland's ice. That's right.
Yeah,
like that Viking screwed it up or something.
But it is very cold and icy in Iceland, but just, not as much as...
Did you have that day effect where the days were much longer?
Yeah,
or
it got light at noon and it was dark again by 6. So, which actually worked out well because that's the best time you can go out and see like the Northern Lights and stuff, and
that's true.
which I was fine with. But the coolest thing that they had in Iceland is they have the hot springs everywhere. So they have like the public pools. It costs like $2 American to get in for the day pass if you're not a member or something like that. And all it is geothermal hot spring water that they have funneled up there. So we're outside swimming, and the pool itself was just like an average temperature, but they had a water slide that was open in the middle of the night. So we were out like in the icy cold going down this water slide into a pool. But then they had all these hot tubs. 4 of them set up to all these different degrees. It was like 32-degree hot tub, 34-degree hot tub, 36-degree hot tub, the 38-degree hot tub, and you could get into one that you liked and find your temperature, and it was just really awesome. Like,
that sounds big. That sounds pretty awesome. Whenever I answer the phone, I'm like, hello.
What pissed you off?
It's a great argument to have.
I love my mom, but I think she's half crazy for doing that.
How dare you?
Do you work with your girlfriend, Mark? Or your wife, Mark?
I keep them separated. Sometimes I call people, they don't answer the phone. I'm like,
wrong number, click.
Well, he's not that smart. Sometimes he sounds like he knows what he's doing.
Go.
Therefore, you're an ass, and I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Yeah, but what do we know?